this is marketed as a de-shedding brush. I would have thought it was something used in the bathtub because, again, we talked about this earlier, but this is definitely what you use for de-shedding with the teeth or whatever. I think it's a perfect time to bring in one of our experts. Let's bring in Nic Durham. She's the manager at Place NYC, and she can answer this question for us. Nicolette, I'm having an internal debate. Is this, would you call this a bathing brush or is it a de-shedding brush? And how would it work as a de-shedding brush?
I mean, you could use it as a de-shedding brush. For me, I personally prefer the Furminator instead. If you do use that one, the scrub one, if you rub it in a circular motion, it kind of gets hair off, but I just prefer Furminator instead.
I can see that because it's rubbery, I guess. So the rubbery would kind of
yeah.
So Nicolette, I was on TikTok last night and asked the TikTokers, the Gen Z kids, to ask some questions that I would ask you as an expert. So we've got a couple for you here. The first one is about bathing in between grooms. Should I bathe my dog in between grooming? Is that something people should be doing? And if so, how do they do it?
I think you should get your dog bathed in between groom, either in a shop or at home. Especially if you have like a doodle, because everybody has a doodle these days. Yeah. And if you like to keep your dogs long, like a longer haircut, just for maintenance. Sorry, I have dogs in the background.
Hey, you're at Bark Place. They bark, right?
If you do have a longer haired dog, I would say definitely do the bathing for the maintenance in between. But never forget that if you are going to bathe at home, always comb and brush your dog before the bath. And that's just to ensure that you don't have any mats, because once water hits a mat, it just gets tighter and tighter, and we want to avoid that.
So we forget that it's not human hair, and you don't. I guess you do
definitely do.
So yeah, because dogs' hair tends to be a little more fair. Even the doodles that have those big fuzzy, and they're a lot of hair, it still seems when it gets wet, it's like there's nothing there. It's like
it just mats up. And sometimes it's hard to see the mats. Like on the outside, it's gonna look like it's all fine and dandy, but underneath, once you get like close to the skin, there are mats down there. So
will this do what you're talking about with the bathing and stuff in between grooms? Will that help prevent the matting as well? Like, I mean, I know a lot of people come into Bark Place, we shave their dogs down and they're not happy. Will this be a solution? Like, is that a problem there?
I think it will help because, like I said, it's just going to help to maintain the hair in between the grooming sessions. So, like, if your dog does have to get shaved, unfortunately, because it is matted, then you'll know, like, okay, I come in for a bath in a couple of weeks. I do the maintenance. They do it. They brush it out. They get all the mats out. I know that for my next groom, if I want just a trim, I could get a trim because I know my dog isn't matted. So I would suggest definitely baths in between.
And so how long do you think, most dogs, what's the span between grooms and where should that bath fit into that? Is there like a time frame that you do grooms in, or how's that work?
I say depending on the cut, we do suggest like 4 to 6 weeks for grooming. For baths, I say do it in between like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, depending on how long the hair is. Like, let's say your dog did get shaved down to the skin because it was matted. You don't necessarily have to come in for a bath because it's already short and you can see. But if it's a longer cut, I'd say like 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, definitely. For a bath.
And is there such thing as too much bathing in this process? Can I bathe every week? Can I bathe every day? Is there too much?
I don't suggest bathing every week just because their skin does dry out. And you'll notice like dogs, those tend to get irritated like if you give them baths too much. So I think that you should limit how often you bathe. Don't do it excessively, but
So maybe like one time in between the groups would be sufficient. Maybe.
Yeah, that would be good.
So, and earlier we talked about the Pride and Groom's leave-in conditioner. I guess it's okay to use something like that if you have a longer hair dog, but on shorter hair dogs, it's not necessary, right? Or would you use it anyway?
Not really, not on shorter hair. On longer hair, yeah. Shorter hair, not necessarily.
Okay. So, that's great expert opinion.